I like Jalen Hurts. I think he can improve from this. I hope he can. So we'll see.
The final half hour of the middle today on a Wednesday on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Harry Mays and Barrett Brooks. And Eitan should be back tomorrow, but we thought we'd finish up this show today. And if you're not watching the post-game show on JAKIB Media YouTube's channel or 6abc.com, and you're missing something, because it's great analysis and a whole lot of fun, too. We bring in a key component to that post-game show, one Devan Kaney. Follow her on Twitter at Devan_Kaney, spelled DEVAN_KANEY. Let's get that straight. Devan, welcome to the show with Harry and Barrett. How are you?
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm
What's going on,
doing
man?
well. I'm recovering still. I think like yesterday I had to take almost a mental health day after not only a terrible game, but having to talk about it for 2 hours on the post-game show. But otherwise, I'm good.
See, I used to do post games on the old radio station that I worked for, and I used to love doing post game because it's all right there in front of you, to sort of set up the show with, your take on this play, that play, and, then you just opened it up to the fans and they went crazy. But with you guys, there is no phone calls or anything. So tell everybody who hasn't seen this show yet, exactly how this goes down. Yeah,
I mean, there are no phone calls, but there are comments, which we have here as well. So yeah, it's myself, it's D-Gun, Derek, and Mark Farzetta. And you're right. I mean, when it comes to post-game, this is the first live post-game show that I've ever hosted. And it is really fun because you can only prep so much. When you're doing pregame stuff, you can make your predictions, you can guess what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, no one knows what's going to happen until it happens. So, And then when you're doing a post-game show, we go live 2-3 minutes after the game ends. There's really not a lot of time to prep. So you're really getting some fresh perspectives. So if you guys aren't watching, you definitely should tune in. Even when we talk about losses, because everyone, it felt like, almost like a therapy session. We're all just kind of working through it on Monday night.
Well, that's the great thing about YouTube, though. They can go back to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel and look it up today if you didn't get, because a lot of people might have just been so pissed off with that game. They might have just shut it off in the middle of the fourth quarter and just gone to bed. You know what I mean?
Well, and I don't blame you guys if you did do that. That's the other thing about talking about it. The hosting a post-game show is I wanted to turn that game off so bad, and I was like, I can't. I literally have to peel my eyes open and watch this monstrosity of a game.
That's the worst thing, But I'm surprised, you don't have to take Ritalin working with those two, man. I work with Gunner and I work with Mark. I tell you what, man, you should need therapy, man, for working with those two, especially those two for 2 hours. Oh my goodness, I feel for you, man. I feel. Don't tell them I said that, though.
I won't.
But
they're well aware, though. They're well aware. Sorry, go for it.
I know you had a comparison to Nick Sirianni that I found very interesting, and I heard this. It has to do with a television show character, Barrett. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. There's a show on Apple TV, I think, is where you get it. And it's a soccer coach. And I want Devan to explain this, who this guy is and why he reminds her of Nick Sirianni.
All right. So Ted Lasso. Barrett, do you know who Ted Lasso is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You've heard the show. All right.
Okay. At this point, because truly, it is an amazing show. I love that show. Jason Sudeikis, it was based off this, format that was created for NBC Sports when the Premier League soccer was on it a few years ago, turned it into a show. But the overall premise is Jason Sudeikis is middle America college football, I believe high school football coach, and is hired by a Premier League soccer team, AFC Richmond, to become their head coach. And he's really just a man of people, the show is how he's such a good person. And Nick Sirianni gives me Ted Lasso vibes, and he showed up before the 49ers game in his Iverson shirt, and he's wearing these T-shirts, supporting his players. He's got this dog mentality, and I like that. I do. I think the Beat Dallas T-shirt was maybe a little too far, but otherwise I like his T-shirt game. The thing about Ted Lasso, though, is he's not actually a good coach. He got his team relegated from
Right.
the Premier League in his first season.
Right.
So my comparison was, yes, Nick Sirianni in my mind is still the Ted Lasso of the NFL, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
And he definitely coached Monday night like he has never coached a football game in his life. So,
well, there lies the problem, because sometimes it's not the antics. It's usually, that's just like, when you're preparing dinner and you're preparing a turkey, if you don't put some good stuffing in there, you know what I'm saying? You're doing it an injustice.
Yeah.
Sometimes the stuffing he's putting in there with the t-shirts and stuff, it's not good stuffing, man. So I need more from I need more from him as far as coaching like he did in the preseason. The preseason, he was all on it, teaching that little X's and O's on what he needs to do and all this stuff. It wasn't all the, parading around with the t-shirts. Give me more solid, I need more solid coaching right now and seeing where you are as far as being an innovator in your coaching style.
Yeah, you have to, if you're going to do the t-shirts, you're going to have that. You just have to back it up. And he's not backing it up at all.
Right. Leonard knows nothing about coaching soccer. That's the main thing, Harry. Nothing about coaching soccer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at that show. I've heard a lot of hype about it. But what do you make of the highlighter on the visor too? I can't get past that. I just stare at it.
So it's the highlighter on the visor. And then also, if you notice the logo on the polo, the Eagles logo is a little bit, it's all like a little bit misplaced, right? Like the highlighter is a little intrusive. I feel so mean right now. Nick Sirianni.
This is what happens when he loses football games.
This is what happens when you cause this much emotional pain.
Right.
The highlighter is a little awkwardly placed, and then even like the logo on his polo, or maybe the polo's too small. It's just he needs like a stylist or a game day fitting. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, as long as he doesn't like come out and pander to Andy Reid during this week, because the Chiefs are coming to town. Your thoughts on this game? Because when this line came out at 5.5, Eitan and I were like, you got to jump all over Kansas City. And obviously a lot of people did, including probably a lot of sharps, because it's up to 7.5 now, which is a little bit more like it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Andy Reid, and hopefully he'll be in attendance of this game. But if he is, it's kind of poetic in a way, because Andy Reid is, making his return. And then we've got this fresh, young rookie coaching staff who he's facing with his former team. And I'm terrified for this game. The Chiefs are mad. They're going to be hungry for a
lost
win.
2 straight.
Yeah. And we're coming off an embarrassing loss, but I think our loss was more just demoralizing. Like, it's not the kind of loss that gets you fired up. And it's our second home game back with full capacity. I hope the fans come out and are as loud as they were in our first home openers. So, we'll see. It's hard to root against the Chiefs sometimes as well. Obviously, it's the Eagles, and you're always going to root for the Eagles, but it's going to be tough for sure. I just hope it's not embarrassing, right? Like, Monday was embarrassing. It was demoralizing. Just put up a fight, guys. And don't get injured. And no more penalties, no more injuries.
Right.
Yeah, the penalties are unbelievable. They lead the league in penalties, and now they're down to 2 starting offensive linemen that they began the year with. I mean, this thing has gone off the rails a lot quicker than I thought it would.
Well,
is it quicker though? Because I feel like it's pretty typical Eagles.
Well, I thought they'd lose to Dallas. I thought they'd lose to San Francisco, but I didn't think that they would be this undisciplined of a football team this early on. And I didn't think that, and I thought for some reason they were going to keep their starting players on the field a little bit longer than this. I mean, right now, you look at this, you're like, man, this is like a team in week 12 or 13 with all these injuries.
Yeah.
So,
well, looking at looking at this coaching staff and trying to put things together. And then I go back and I hear what this coaching staff is saying, and then I hear what the players are saying. There's a lot of self-evaluation, and there's a lot of finger pointing at themselves as opposed to finger pointing at others. I do like that aspect of it, but I don't want to just keep hearing that, all right, it's my fault. You know what I'm saying? I know you guys talked to Lane, and he said, hey, it starts with me. It starts with me going out there and changing and not causing all these penalties and all this stuff. He said it starts with me. I'm hoping they changed it around now. Do you get a sense that they are and it was genuine?
I think the word of the week in Philadelphia is accountability, from Ben Simmons to his coaching staff to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had a terrible game, took responsibility for it, and he is someone that I truly think can and will, leave that game in the past and move forward. Nick Sirianni and we talked to John McMullen on our post-game show as well, and he said Sirianni was so hard on himself after the 49ers loss. So I can't imagine what he's thinking, after this Dallas loss. And that concerns me because I think as a good head coach in this league, you have to be able to move on and learn from your mistakes and make those adjustments and not just keep beating yourself up over it. But I was concerned, watching and listening to a lot of Nick Sirianni's post-game pressers where he was asked about the lack of run game, and he never really seemed to take full, oh, you're right, I should have done that. I felt like he almost like gaslit some of the reporters who asked him, where he was like, no, I think those numbers are skewed, I think at one point. Like, how are they skewed? We all literally have eyeballs. We all saw that you didn't run the ball.
We all saw it.
Yeah, we all see it.
Like, you can't deny that. So that concerns me. I think player-wise, hopefully they can make those adjustments. Coaching-wise, I'm skeptical.
What sense did you get from D Gunn as far as his what his analysis was of Jalen Hurts?
D Gunn, I think, was more frustrated with Barnett and the penalties. He started off, classic D Gunn rant immediately after the game, and then by the end of the show was coming at me for being the most negative one on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know, but D Gunn didn't touch on Jalen Hurts as much. I will say John McMullen has no faith in Jalen Hurts' accuracy. He kind of was like, "This is what I've been saying from the start. We've seen how he can throw, and we saw it tonight." Anyone, again, same with the run game, anyone with eyeballs saw that Jalen Hurts played terribly. So I like Jalen Hurts. I think he can improve from this. I hope he can. So we'll see.
Is that typical of D Gunn, Barrett, to do that during the show where you start out, maybe on the same side and then turn on your co-host by the end of the show?
Classic.
That's vintage D Gunn, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
He's the master of drawing you in to his viewpoint and then turning around and it's
turning heel. He turns heel like a wrestler.
And it's his viewpoint that brought you that way, and then he turns around and just buries you with it and tries to just manipulate with his viewpoint. Yes, that's what he does. Man.
The start of the show, we're like, all right, we're just gonna let him talk. He's got to get it out. He's doing a few rants, and then by the end, when I give my Ted Lasso take, he's like, whoa, wow, so negative. I'm like, what do you want from me?
Did he even know who Ted Lasso was?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I at least knew who he was. I know what the show is. I just never seen it.
Yeah. No clue who he was.
Wow.
That is vintage.
Right.
Vintage. And then Farzetta's just like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, okay. That was the worst I've seen Mark post game after that. And Mark was like, I just don't think there's any hope. I think Nick Sirianni's in over his head. I think Jalen Hurts is in over his head. So it wasn't great from Farzy either. Honestly, the most positive person was probably Lane Johnson when he came on. And I do have to shout him out because we honestly weren't sure after a loss like that.
Right.
For him to still come on was incredible. So
well, yeah, that's good on him. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, well, how has his mood been these past 2 weeks, compared to what it was week 1?
He's always very even keel, whether they win or lose. He called in pretty early on the show on Monday night. He hadn't even hit the showers yet. And
oh, wow.
You could definitely tell he was a little bit on edge, probably more so than usual. But I think it would be very easy for any other player to come on or just not come on at all or kind of give pushback or attitude. And he just, it was what it was. He said, it was bad. And we need to look ahead to next week. That's always kind of the messaging. He said Jalen Hurts didn't seem rattled at all in the locker room after the game. And I think they all just look onward, which is a good mindset to have.
Now I see on your Twitter page you also do the Believe in Eagles podcast.
I do.
Right?
Yes.
Now, how long you been doing that? Tell everybody about your background. You did some sideline reporting, and how did you get to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel?
I don't know. They asked me to be a part of the show, and
you got recruited.
I love doing it. Yeah. So I'm born and raised just outside Philly. Been a lifelong Philly sports fan, but I also cover lacrosse. I sideline report for. I cover the wings for NBC Sports Philly, or at least I did last season. I've made a few appearances on other Philly sports talk radio. I was on Mike Misnelli's show earlier this summer for a little bit.
My apologies.
So I think, what's that?
My apologies. I'm only kidding.
Honestly, a lot of people say that when I.
Oh no,
I know.
I worked with him for 10 years at least. Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're ex-disciples from that, station. So just,
Yeah. I mean, so is Farzi, and I think so am I.
Mhm.
Technically,
Yeah.
I guess, so.
I think everybody is.
Well, we all have that ex. We all have that ex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. We all have that ex.
It's funny. I don't want to get in trouble for saying this, but when we were taping a special pregame show before the 49ers game, someone came up to us at the bar and he's like, "Are you guys going to Fan Fest?" And Farzi and I are both like, "No, definitely not going to."
Don't think so. We were trying.
I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there."
Yeah, we were trying to send Eitan there last year in a disguise. Like to have him put on a disguise and a different clothing that he wouldn't wear, and have him infiltrate with a camera. But for some reason that didn't work out. But they were talking.
As soon as he talks, as soon as he say anything.
Oh yeah, everybody's gonna know it's Shander.
He couldn't hide it, man. Yeah. He wouldn't be able to hide it at all. But I mean, I don't really have any bad vibes or anything from him. We just know what it is. That's all. Yeah. Just know what it is. Dog eat dog.
That's
dog
right.
mentality.
It's a tough business.
That is the dog mentality. Yes.
Right.
All right. Now, how can people get the podcast, Devan? Tell everybody how they can access it.
Yeah. So Believe in Eagles. It's usually weekly, sometimes 2 times a week. And it's on Spotify. Believe in Eagles, and it's hosted by myself. I have a rotating cast of guests. I've had D-Gun on. I've had Football Kelly on. This week, I'm probably going to have a Chiefs insider because, I think we've said all we need to say about the Cowboys game. I think we just need to look ahead and talk about this game coming up on Sunday. So subscribe, listen. It's a pretty quick snackable podcast, like 20-30 minutes. So
right, that's good. Yeah, flush it and move on. That's what Jalen Hurts told us to do. So
you drop the deuce and you move out.
Yeah,
I like the message there, but it was a little bit jarring. It was a little bit like, okay, that's a lot.
Oh man. All right, Devan, we appreciate you jumping on. Great stuff.
I appreciate you guys having me. This was so much fun.
All right, follow her on Twitter at Devan_Kaney, Kaney. Now it's Barrett getting Lane Johnson on after games, is a pretty cool thing. Could you have imagined doing that back in your offensive lineman days? Coming on after a loss before you even hit the shower and talking to somebody on a radio show or a podcast or whatever.
It's a difference because the relationship that Lane has with D-Gun. It's the only reason why it's doing it. A lot of guys, honestly, when they're put this, I can remember Shady, and they were doing a radio show back with the other station, not 97, and it got to a point where, they were like, all right, they just lost. I don't think he's coming, and he won't come. They wouldn't come if they lost, and that's
right.
It's different with different guys, but Lane is one of those stand-up guys that he doesn't mind. He's not a fair weather type of friend,
right?
And that's exactly what he is to D-Gun. He is D-Gun's friend, so that's why I wouldn't doubt that he'll be on the show. I wouldn't doubt that at all.
So's BG. I mean, I wonder if they can ever get Brandon Graham on, especially now that he's not playing.
Right. It should. It should be easy now. It should be easy now. So he would definitely call in. I remember that whole big thing about Brandon Graham when you said. He said, "Oh, wrong again, D-Gun, wrong again."
Yeah. That's great.
That all started because he used to be on my show, Breakfast on Broad, And you know, he'd have a special segment. So I tell him as he came in, "Hey man, I don't know, between me and you, I thought D-Gun was your guy." This is how it all started. He said, "What you mean?" For some reason, man, he has not went with you guys one time this year. He has betted against you every single time, man. So every time it happened, you know, D-Gun is like, "What? Why does he keep saying you wrong again?" What? So I finally told D-Gun, "Hey man, I told him you bet against him all the time. You always picking the opponent instead of picking the Eagles. Why you tell him that? Why you tell him that?" And from that point on, he started to say, "Wrong again, D-Gun. We got you. Wrong again."
Right.
That's how it all started. Me telling him he bet against him.
Well, I remember. You talk about, you know, our old place. I remember Brandon Graham calling out 97.5 because, you know, somebody or multiple hosts or whatever, guests or whatever on 97.5 had doubted the Eagles in some way, shape, or form, and it got back to him.
Yep.
And I remember we had the audio. Thanks, 97.5. Like he used that as motivation and thanked us for it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
He was definitely that guy, man. But it's some athletes, you know, you can't rely on to be on it. But Lane is one of those guys you can definitely rely on because, I mean, he feels that connection with D-Gun. Him and D-Gun are truly, you know, really friends. Though. So I wouldn't doubt that he'd be on there.
Right.
I remember Corey Clement. He missed a couple of shows because, you know, they lost and, you know, he didn't want to get on the show because he lost. Man, you got to step up, man. You got to step to the plate. And, you know, you don't have to worry about that with Jalen. Jalen, you know, Hurts he's going to step up. He'll be there, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to give you the company line. What he says is something he truly believes when he's saying it.
Right.
You know, you're not going to get any of that, you know, sugarcoating, you know, or the BSing. That's what he's feeling during that time. He's going to give it to you. It just so happened he's a coach's son, so it always comes out in coaching phrases because he's raised around coaches. You know what I mean? So that's just the way he talks. You know, he talks like a coach.
Yeah, and 91 LSXers points out that blocked by Brandon was a thing trending on Twitter that year because he went and blocked everybody in the media or even the quasi-media, which is what I consider myself. I don't consider myself directly into the media, but yeah, I do remember that. In fact, I should check.
Party.
Right, a block party. I should check to see if he still has me blocked.
I know I'm not blocked.
Yeah, you're not?
No, I'm not blocked.
All right, let's see. No, I'm not either. I'm following him.
There you go.
So we're all good.
There you go.
See? All right, now I gotta run this.